Hey there, DFS Insiders. Welcome to another episode of DFS Insiders Presents FanDuel Single Game Breakdown. I am David Geistlinger, and I'm joined here by my cousin David Grant Jr., your seasoned DFS pro. And we've got a great matchup between the Dolphins and the Eagles.
That's right, DP. This is where your rookie perspective meets my seasoned insights. In this video, we're here to guide you through a few strategies, some solid value picks, some contrarian selections that can turn your DFS lineups into making you some extra money and making watching the game even that much more exciting. We'll be here every Thursday night and every Sunday night for FanDuel single game breakdowns. So be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And let's get into this amazing best matchup arguably so far this season. I'm very excited for Miami at Philadelphia.
Nice.
How are you excited? I'm
I'm
excited.
excited, but we also want to hear from you. So also drop your thoughts, your questions, and your predictions in the comments below. And stay tuned to the end of the video where we're going to generate a lineup together to enter into the Sunday Night Primetime Showdown tournament. So, David, let's go ahead and start off the conversation with a general overview of the teams before we get into those potential game scripts.
Yeah, you can tell how excited I am. I'm even jumping ahead and just, that's how excited I am for this matchup. Uh, I As you can probably see, I'm a big 49ers fan, but I'm also just a football fan in general. And we are looking at arguably, this offense, while it is ranked number one in about every statistic, but they haven't quite, played someone the caliber of the Eagles. And when they did, it was against the Bills, and they got smoked. So it's a huge game for both teams. I think that with the Eagles being in the same division as the Chiefs, this is big for them, and for Miami to really prove that they're that what we're actually seeing is a legit number one offense.
Yeah,
Being a 40,
with both teams being at 5-1, there's also some, who's better right now, in this game going forward too. So there's a little bit of that going on, and then just with the eyes on Dolphins because they're that 70-point game against Denver, and every one of their players running 25 miles an hour, and it's going to be a very very entertaining game to watch for sure.
yeah, I'm excited. I always like seeing, number one offenses. Top. I like seeing top five offenses against top five defenses.
Yeah, which is weird when you look at the stats that we have up here on the screen. We see the offensive rating and the passer ratings, receiver ratings of Miami, and you can clearly see that they are a 5-1 team. And then you look at the Eagles where they're in the mid 70s and for at least all their ratings, and then you see them also at 5-1. And as you stated earlier, you got to kind of look back at who they've played to kind of understand where those ratings are coming from.
Yeah, for sure. And looking at who, arguably the Eagles haven't really played, that many great teams either, but they went, they went to the Super Bowl. So, Jalen Hurts, everyone's talking about the quarterback matchup. And obviously the quarterback is the highest skilled position, the person that makes the most money, et cetera, et cetera. But, football is definitely the biggest team sport, and as I was making some lineups earlier today and going through my roster construction, it is just I see nothing but superstars. It's going to be fun making some of these lineups. I mean, we got Jalen Hurts, Tyreek Hill, Tua. We got Raheem Mostert, an ex-49er who I'm a huge fan of. We got AJ Brown. I mean, the list goes on and on. I mean, notice I didn't even say Devonta Smith. I didn't even say, Waddle. I mean, this is nuts. So
Nice. So, looking at it right now, so the spread right now has the Eagles favored. Only 2.5 favors. Typically, um, what would you say they give 2 3 points typically for the home team, just kind of
yeah,
for that
yep.
advantage. So, I think right now it kind of betting odds wise, both teams are kind of stacking up pretty even right now. Um, so with that being said, how do you see it? Do you see the spread being accurate? Do you see the Eagles being a little bit more based on just early, what you've seen so far in the season?
So yeah, I mean, as I was, checking out some of the stats, because I'm gonna use that to kind of base my game scripting off of. The Dolphins are having a historic offense at the moment, and Tua is he's only taking 2.3 seconds is his average time before getting the ball out of his
Jeez,
hands.
really? Two
That
point
is
three?
2.3
Okay.
seconds. Yeah, it's nuts. He's getting it out quick. That is first in the NFL.
Okay.
Now, the Eagles defense, it's taking them 2.63 seconds on average before they get to the quarterback, which is ranked third in the NFL. So it's going to be exciting to see, Tua under pressure. We already
Yeah.
know, Jalen Hurts, you could argue he's the Eagles' main running back. Don't get me wrong, I like Swift a lot, but you know, Jalen, that could be a difference maker with the way he's able to throw the ball and run the ball. So, uh, to be honest, at first, and it's funny in the pool that we have going on, I picked Miami because that was just my first glance, no analysis, no nothing, and I was like, yeah, man, the Dolphins dropped 70 on somebody already
Yeah,
this season. I
that's
mean,
that's kind of my perspective too. I was just kind of looking at, I guess you would say, the hype train of just kind of watching all the announcers and everything follow the Dolphins. They're like all their players are cheetahs out on the field. All their players, oh, they dropped a 70 bomb, the highest in NFL history. But not doing the analysis and just kind of looking at it. I chose that, but now diving deeper into the slate now, and we'll talk later about potential game scripts and what we think. But might have chosen wrong.
I know, right? Yeah, I'm not feeling, it's going to be a close game. And to be honest, I think if either team is going to run away with the game, I would see it being the Eagles more so than the Dolphins. And it's it boils down to Jalen Hurts has been there. He's been to a Super Bowl. He's been through playoffs. He's been in big games. Uh, you know, we had Tua, unfortunately, has been through a couple of injuries, and so we haven't seen consistency and you know just I haven't seen enough to
Well,
know. If you're gonna
yeah, sorry to interrupt you. So I was going to say, following up on that, how do you see this game playing out? Because I kind of want to know and see how that either is similar, if not different, than kind of how I'm looking at it right now, purely from the standpoint of these two great teams going up, and how that also is going to affect potential lineups going forward.
Yeah, so the over under is the highest is the highest on the whole the whole slate if you're doing the main slate. Um, and I
It's
believe
51 and a
it
half right now.
is, yeah, 51 and a half. I'm going to go with the under. Um, Usually, when two great teams play against each other, and from what I've, the people at ESPN and that type of stuff, they're all saying shootout. Oh, this is going to be a shootout. I really don't think it's going to be a shootout. If the Eagles defense shows up, uh, you know, I don't think the Dolphins can put up those type of numbers against a top five defense. That has yet to be seen. So, uh, you know, Buffalo's ranked number five, and that's the one loss that they have. So it's if I'm game scripting, or as the overview, I see the Eagles being the team that has the advantage.
Nice. I mean, I think I see that. I see that too. Maybe not. I don't. I think it will be closer to probably the 51 and a half than you might think. I'm not sure where you might, lie point wise. I'm thinking it'll probably be high 40s, low 50s if I had to choose. I guess doing the over under, but unfortunately in California, don't really have the choice to bet those. Um,
I know, right?
but I think what I'm curious to watch from Miami is the running because we've seen, Mozart, that crazy 4 touchdown game that I forgive me for butchering his name,
Yeah.
the Akin guy, he had 4 touchdowns. Then Wilson had 1 or 2 touchdowns that game. However, this is a top 3, top 5 run defense, and not only that, they are getting one of their better cornerbacks or their better backfield with Darius Slade coming back. So, I'm assuming he's going to probably, hopefully, I mean, if I was, doing that, I would have him probably be shadowing Tyreek Hill, even though a lot of people don't shadow nowadays. They play their designated sides, but why wouldn't you have your number one on their number one? But that's neither here nor
Yeah,
there. But yeah, I think it'll still be a high scoring game because I think these two are very high octane offenses, and I would give the edge to the Eagles defensive wise.
yeah. I was watching some game film on the Dolphins offense, and some of the breakdowns I saw, they do a lot of creative. You'll see a lot of motion going on, and it's creating, it's making the defense second guess what they're going to do. And so by keeping the defense on their toes and guessing, McDaniels, the coach, has been doing just a great job. Uh, it- you know, Basically like Kyle Shanahan with the
Mm-hmm.
49ers,
I was about to
everyone
reference
says,
that too. That's good.
yeah, everyone acts like we can just plug in whatever quarterback, and because of Kyle Shanahan's system, that Brock Purdy isn't getting his 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 kudos that he
His
should be
flowers.
getting, his flowers,
Yeah.
yeah, and so yeah, McDaniel's offense right now, what he's doing is it's looking good.
Yeah,
So
so but do
it,
you see this
you know,
game being so you have Eagles with the edge over Dolphins, but so do you see the Eagles attack being more air? You see it more on the ground? Do you see where do you see that, and then where do you also see the Dolphins coming in? Because I think it's kind of going to be. I think Dolphins are going to be through the air, and I think Jalen Jalen Hurts being on the ground, but and I think it's going to be more on the ground for Eagles.
yeah, I typically will try to think who's leading going into the fourth quarter. So whoever's leading, typically that team is going to be wanting to run the ball to run time off the clock and get the W. So if I think that Philadelphia is going to be leading going into the fourth quarter, which I do, I think that they'll be running the ball more. And so, yeah, you know, don't get me wrong. AJ Brown is, one of the top receivers in the NFL, and it's going to be, you know, exciting. And I think that Devontae Smith is due for a breakout game, after dropping six, missing, being targeted 11 times and getting 5 receptions. And the game before that, catching 1 out of 5. So both of those games were, away. And now with the Eagles being back at home, it's going to be a great atmosphere, and it's going to be just a fun game to watch.
Yeah, no, I think so too. And I'm looking at, the run defense. The Eagles have a slight edge over the Dolphins, but Dolphins have a significant edge over the Eagles in coverage. Similar pass rushing stats wise. So that kind of falls into, kind of how I'm going to kind of be scripting at least my lineups. But to kind of throw it out there, just to kind of get, where you're at, like if you had to do 100 lineups, 100 of your lineups based on your kind of game scripting, how would you see your lineups panning out right now?
So right now, I think I'm going to be, if I'm doing 100 lineups, I'm going to have 65 to 70% more exposure to the Eagles winning as my game script and what that looks like, and 30 to 35% game scripting as if Miami would be winning. So, with all these superstars on the slate and the salaries being up there, it's going to be an interesting lineup build for sure.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to take the approach of I might drop my percentages down, so I might do like a 55, 45, 50 in favor of Eagles.
That's fair. That's
just
fair.
because I think it's going to be a little closer of a game, but I think Eagles are going to win, so I do want to have those Miami lineups, my game script wise coming up. But so we're speaking of lineups and player analysis. Let's go ahead and hop over to the FanDuel single game lineup, and let's start breaking down these players, their salaries, and see what those key players are and what those dollar value players will be for this slate.
Slate, definitely. So looks like we got Jalen Hurts is the most expensive here at 17K.
Yeah, that
and
hurts. That's a big one right there.
That hurts.
I mean,
However,
it's definitely reasonable. I mean, I would like it to be lower,
yeah,
just so I can fit some more people in there. But no, I definitely agree with it.
and to be honest, it seems like he's been getting criticized for not even playing that well this season. And I think obviously the Eagles have more expectations coming off going to a Super Bowl. So it's
People are just mad about the tush push.
yeah, I mean, it's what are 97, 98%, some crazy number like that they're.
Don't let them get that close to scoring getting the first down. You won't have that issue.
Well, I mean, so on the opposite side, we got Tua, who's averaging the most yards per play. They have the most total yards per game. Dude, they're averaging 498 yards a game
Yeah,
through week
that's
6.
crazy.
I mean, that's
That's
insane.
crazy. So yeah,
Uh,
like you're saying, Jalen Hurts. We'll look here at his game logs. So I mean, he's not only pass attempts, high 30s, mid 40s here. He's also getting you know a few double digit run attempts, and then 8 and 9. So that's basically your double digit at 10. So I can see
yeah,
why that salary's at 17K because he's near a quarterback and a running back.
yeah, that's a great point. And I mean, so the other thing when you're doing a single slate is ownership is obviously a huge proponent of making your lineups unique to the competition. And when you're entering in large field tournaments, like the main one on here for the 100K,
And
um,
that's the line,
where
that's
you
the
have
lineup we're doing is the 500K NFL primetime showdown, 100K to first.
100K to
So
first, and so if so for all you guys out there making lineups, if you're only making one lineup, um, it's okay to be a little chalky, but you need to do something to set your lineup apart from your competition. And a great way of doing that is putting someone in the MVP spot that is going to be lower owned there, or at one of the flex positions, picking more of a dark horse, lower own, projected to be lower owned guy. So that way you're not tying with a bunch of people. And, if you're entering that tournament to take first and win, uh, that's the approach you want to take. If you're trying to just make the money, um, that's up to you. And you can be a little more chalky if that's, what, if you're just trying to make the money. I don't know about you, but I'm here to try to win the big money by myself in those big tournaments.
no, yeah, no, 100% agree with you. I'm just doing a little quick calculation here. I love some numbers here, but it look if you have a long shot if you're just entering in uh, one lineup, out of the 66,137 people that are currently looks like set to enter this tournament. So it is 150 max entry. So you're going to get more typical pro players entering in a whole 150 stack. So if you're coming in, um, what I try to do is obviously I like to win the money. You need to at least hit roughly about that top 23% to win your money. Um, that's how I do most of my lineups is calculations. I have my own NFL optimizer that I created, and then I kind of look at that and do my own analysis. And I'm starting to, with the advice of David Grant over here, starting to hand build a little bit more and then use my optimizer that I created to kind of look at lineups that I might not have seen initially and kind of weigh those in on mine. But looking into it, going down the list here, David, who do you see as your players? I'd say your top players from each team.
Which team? So,
I'm not just based on salary, but I guess it would be your points per salary. Uh,
so before I hop into that, just one
yeah,
extra thing. Another smart thing to do is to hop in the single entry tournaments. That's a great way to know that you're equal with, everyone can only enter one lineup. I personally try to do any of the single entries that are available from the $1 up to 100 basically. So any single entries that are available, that's a great way to even out the field and put in you can put in a more balanced lineup there because you're only putting in one and everyone's putting in one. So obviously making that type of lineup versus this bigger field tournament that has 66,000 people in it, you know, some people are putting in 150 lineups, like you said, Max, or
Yeah.
165, whatever it is. Uh, and that the other thing is, what's great is your approach is different than mine. You use the optimizer, and I've seen how it's smart that you've hand built your own. You're not using, someone else's on someone's website, and you're putting in your own stuff so that your lineups will be unique and not using the same optimizer that everybody else is typically
Yeah,
using.
no, I agree.
Not to put down anyone else's, platform or optimizers, but if you want to be you want to make your lineups
No, yeah.
unique. That's the most
And I'll
important part.
branch on that too because when I was starting, because I mean, I am still a rookie, but I have been kind of dabbling in and out of for a little bit. And I've used optimizers from this site, that site, and all of them. And it just seems, I don't know, just I've entered them in and kind of done my own analysis of just doing, the 150 bulk entry on the 5 cent and the 25 cent entries just to see
Yeah.
how many winners I get out of those 150 and what my return is. And then I was just like, why am I paying somebody this when I'll give away my secret. If you're not good with Excel, Chat GPT. That helped me
Yeah.
create my own optimizer, and you can set it to how you do it. And I mean, it's mine's far from perfect, but it is what it is right now. So uh,
So like you said, it's great to have that. And then, the more we've talked, like you mentioned, I've kind of got you into hand building a little bit more. And I personally like to hand build so that way I'm not being persuaded or feel like I'm using all of the same tools that somebody else
no,
is
yeah,
using.
exactly.
So,
So
so
like building a
um,
lineup like this, since we're going to be building this lineup for the showdown, this 150 max entry, so you're saying with this particular lineup, with this particular tournament, we're going to have to be that contrarian lineup to set us apart from somebody else, and you can do that in one of two ways: either basically fading the most, I guess, owned MVP and hoping that you hit it, or
yeah.
doing a very chalky MVP and hopefully you hit that lower end guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
Got
so
it. Okay.
uh yep, and I mean, so in a game like this, we have Jalen Hurts, his projected MVP is the highest at 21%, and even at 17K, to me that is still, you know, the, the I'm going to probably have overexposure than the 21% at the MVP for the lineups I'm making. I'm making about 25 lineups right around there. I'll be over the field on him at the MVP, and I'll be trying to make my difference up in the flex positions with a low owned or two play there.
Yeah, and that's kind of what, just looking at doing lineups earlier as myself, and I'm having a very hard time not putting Jalen Hurts in, just on the sheer fact that he's a quarterback and a running back. Uh,
Yeah. Yep.
so, and I mean, it's
And
not that he's running out of, he's getting, pressure. There's designed runs for him. So,
for
and then it's
sure.
like, like I said,
Yep.
that tush push earlier, if he gets on the goal line, he's taking it and things like that.
He's taking
And
it
then,
in. Yeah.
and I'm looking at who would be my second up, and then obviously, uh, I would probably go, for me would be Tyreek Hill, just from his sheer performance in the past. But at the same time, it's just those salaries are hurting me on the lower end.
Yeah, it's with all these. with all these superstars, it's definitely a different type of construction, I think, than our normal single game weekly that that we've been doing on Thursdays and
Yeah.
Sundays. So this is definitely a more unique build than typically.
So
So
how would you going based on um, that? Like, how do you see this lineup just out of a brief flyover right now before we actually start building it? Or we both agree that we think Philly's Philly's going to take the game. The only difference, I think, if I recall correctly, is I think it's going to be slightly higher game, and you think it's going to be slightly lower scoring game. So I think that's
yeah,
basically I think where we differ. I think at
yeah,
least
yeah,
in
and
that general flyover of it.
so I mean that sounds like to me that you're probably leaning more towards a like three Eagles, two people from
I
Miami.
and I think I'm being forced to do that.
Yeah, I mean it
I'm
it
trying to I tried to do a four lineup earlier, and I didn't like it, and
yeah,
maybe I should have just left it in, but it was hard to see that lineup and be happy about it.
for sure. And especially if you're only making one lineup. I know there's lots of people out there that only do one. If you are only doing one, then that you're going to have a different mindset than if you're doing 10 or keep multiplying it. So uh I
Correct. I mean,
games
oh, sorry. I
go
was gonna
ahead.
say, yeah. I mean, you don't even get down. You have your your first, second wide receivers and your starter running backs, quarterbacks, defenses. You know, all above 8,500.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah,
like
it's
to try to get if you want 2 stars, like you're going bottom of the barrel. I mean, I hate to phrase it like that. They're all professionals,
yeah,
but uh,
for
as
sure.
for salary wise, you're scraping by, and I just don't see too many of those options that even if you can snake a good game from them, getting a goose egg from one player might not do it for you.
So if we both seem to agree, on the one lineup with Jalen Hurts as our MVP, you always, typically want to tie if you're going with your quarterback there with a wide
Okay, so
receiver.
we'll
So
just both agree. So as we're starting the lineup now, lineup generation, Jalen Hurts, I think we can. I guess
yeah,
we're unanimously going with that. So I'll let you go ahead and pick the next player on here. Then I'll start looking and yeah, let's discuss because that hurts. No pun
yeah,
intended.
yeah.
Uh,
So now that leaves us with 10,750 per position with four positions to fill. Um, it makes it it makes it tough to go AJ Brown, which is obviously, he's a beast. He gets the targets, he gets the catches. Um, I think, Devonta Smith is at 11K. You're almost forced to also play him. I know he's coming off two bad games. All that tells me is he's due for a big game.
but I think
And if you look at his
yeah, I
home,
think his last
go
game
ahead.
he should have had a big game last game.
Yeah, for sure. And he even came out post game and said, "My bad, that's on me." I, he it 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 was very uncharacteristic of him. So that game's in the past. I know he's looking forward to this matchup. He actually is an ex Alabama player with Hurts. Hurts and Tua all of them went to the same college. So
So you're
I don't.
thinking Devonta Smith then going to pair up the stack with Hertz.
Yeah, and again, that's already starting off uh pretty chalky. I mean, we got Smith, his projected ownership at 31%. Um, that's that's considered high when you're doing a single game like this. 31 is definitely at the 25, 30% and above. You're getting into where you're going to be tying unless you find a guy that's under 10%
Yeah.
and whatnot. So
So I think, or I mean, we kind of maybe should talk about, do we want to do, since we both agree the Eagles are winning, do we want to go 4-1 Eagles, or do we want to kind of balance it out, because we do think it's going to be at least a decent scoring game. I think it's going to
game.
be a little
Um,
higher. Um,
yeah,
so I think benefiting
it
from two Dolphins would probably be the best to do in this situation, and then that also kind of gives us a better option to divert to separate us from the field.
okay. So what do you have a play in mind that you're looking at
I'm
right now
Yeah, I'm
or
thinking, to be honest, to kind of give us some wiggle room going forward. I don't necessarily I I mean, I always say I don't like going kickers, but the last like three single game slates I've been in, the kicker's been in the optimal lineup. So there's that. But I like this Jeff Wilson Jr. It does say IR on here, so I will be following up, obviously keeping it on. But they did make room for him on the 53 man roster by dropping, I believe his name is Brooks, if I'm not mistaken, and he has practiced the last 3 Fridays. So they are planning to activate him, and he would be the number two behind Mozart, which I
yeah,
think,
yeah.
with Mozart being where he's at, obviously would prefer him in if I'm choosing a running back. But I think 8,000 now, we're up to 12K remaining for the last two, and I think that sets us up pretty good to get another decent player.
Yeah, and a strategy I like is like right now because it says IR, a lot of your casual players, DFS players will just automatically not go there. So typically those players will go even more under-owned than usual. So that is another great way to find a low-owned pick is finding someone who I mean, especially it's saying IR. It's not even saying doubtful and like, he's or or a different designation. It looks like the dude's on the IR right now. So that keeps his ownership much lower than usual. So I think that's a great
Yeah,
pick
so that would
to
definitely
go with.
separate us from the casuals, but who's going to be that player that separates us from the other pros?
So let's see. I mean, so if we got Hertz, Wilson, and Devontae Smith, we've got 12,000 per position. Um, I mean, so yeah. So you were saying that you don't like
I was
kickers. To be
The funny
honest,
thing is, I was about to just say, you know what? Based on our conversation, I mean, I did say I didn't like kickers, but looking at what we have now, I think I'll let you finish, but I think I know where you're going with this.
yeah. I mean, I personally like going the kickers. I mean, usually I think that they're not as high owned as what they should be. However, it looks like Jake Elliott is projected for 31% ownership, 3% MVP, 28% in the flex. Um, and I mean, it's really, if you look at his game log, uh, it's kind of hard to get away from as someone who's 9,500 and has the upside of 18 fantasy points as a kicker. I mean, especially in a high scoring game. Um, we could argue we see both teams getting into the red zone a lot. And, I mean, even if we're just looking at the attempts, so we got 4 for 4, 2 for 3, 3 for 3, 4 for 4, 3 for 3. I went 0 for 1, and it looks like he's nailing the extra points. So, so as much as if if we went there, I I do still think the lineup is a little chalky, but it's almost a must play. I'm kind of on the fence with as far as making this lineup.
I
But he will be a great play
I
overall.
think that's okay because I was thinking then the next play, or I think I can go two options here, and I'll see what you think about it because well, I don't like DeAndre Swift. I mean, I know he's done good. It's just I have with that with Hurts running like he does. The Eagles run basically a committee. Swift, Gainwell, and I believe Scott gets one or two attempts, and he could snake one of those touchdowns. Um,
Uh,
uh, I'm thinking, uh, what about throwing in Waddle there? That will leave us 3K on the table, which definitely sets us apart.
yeah, I mean that for sure. That's a great point. So another way to make sure your lineup is more contrarian, more unique, would be not only having a low owned player, meaning someone under 15, someone under 10% owned, but then also leaving more money than usual on the table, because your casual player will always try to zero out the salary, and that is not
Well,
the
I
way
would
to
say
go, especially in big
with
field
this, our
tournaments.
lowest owned guy is still over 20% owned. Jeff Wilson Jr. is roughly 20%. They're saying, um, what I
Um,
can see
yeah,
is
yeah.
that. So
Oh, you are
even at
okay.
IR, I
Uh,
mean that tag's still going to scare people, and we're going to find out.
yeah.
I think earliest reports say Saturday.
And again, these are just
Mhm.
projections. So all that is a frame of reference, just like everything else, just like the over under, just like uh, so that could be way off. I've seen projections, be pretty far off,
Nice.
especially.
But I was seeing either Jalen Waddle to give us the 3-2 that we were discussing, or if we got rid of him, Goddard. Um, that would give us the 4-1. Our MVP would have another potential receiver to hit in our lineup. We're left with 4,500 on the table.
Yeah, that's so it is. I mean, it, you should be making a lineup without considering the salary to start and not thinking to zero it out. Sometimes, if leaving that much on the table does make me start to kind of second guess the lineup, because it also comes down to raw
Mm.
points.
Well,
So,
what
you
about
know,
getting rid of Smith, throwing in AJ Brown there, leaving 2,000 on the table, and now we have
you,
Hertz, Brown, Wilson, Elliott, Goddard.
so yeah, let's see. So I'm kind of looking, yeah. So yeah, if we were to put Tua in there, that zeroes out the salary. So we don't want that. Uh, yeah, AJ Brown with 2,000, and then it's 4-1. I mean, again, if there's going to be a 4-1 winning lineup, I think it's going to be Philly. I mean,
But
I'd
yeah,
95% sure.
no, I can see it happening, and I think, like I said, Philly's going to win. I'm just hoping Wilson gets one, gets that 1 or 2 touchdown game to put him viable. If he can get me 10 points right there, solid.
Yeah,
At
yeah,
an
for
eight
sure.
thousand, I could live with 10 points, and then Eagles have a good game between um, the 3 players or the 4 players in this case, 3 players on top of Jalen Hurts. Just throw those touchdowns
Uh,
to AJ Brown and Goder, and I think yeah, that's what it is. I think it's a lineup we're setting. We have a chalky people, but we did leave some salary there. So I mean, I'm
yeah,
okay with it.
and yeah, it's looking good to me because if I were to look to go up somewhere, if I'm making another lineup, a lot of times when I do build lineups, I'll make one and then I'll make another one and just make one
Yeah,
change. So, and you can a lot of people, most people would go, they could go to Devontae Smith easily right now and going Goddard if Smith has another bad game, which he has had the yips the last 2 games. uh,
yeah, no,
if he has another bad game, Goddard could easily exceed, exceed fantasy points and
yeah. I mean, even
and
if we switched out Goddard for Devonte Smith, I mean, we still have 1,000 on the board, which is starting to get into that chalky range, especially since everybody's above that 20, roughly that 20% projected threshold of ownership. So I think we're good with this, and we keep our eye on the news for Jeff Wilson, and I think with the 2,000 salary there, we can maybe you know have to play it by ear on who we would substitute out if he can't go.
if you can't go. Yeah. So
Or if he can't
um
go, that means Ahmed would be the number 2, and he's seventy five
would be
hundred, which even furthers us from it. And then
yep, that would be the move for sure. So everyone out there, just keep your eyes on the news. Lock is at 8:20 p.m. Eastern time, so be sure to check your lineups. And always set an alarm on your phone or something. I can't tell you at the beginning how much money I lost from not following the news before lock because you know crazy stuff happens. So be sure to check your lineups, an hour before lock, 30 minutes before lock to make sure nothing crazy's happened.
yeah, and with that, just remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Turn your notifications on, and actually before we go, let's just go over who we think is going to be your leading fantasy scorer, and also who is going to be that bang for your buck player. I think if you haven't guessed, mine is going to probably be Jalen Hurts is going to be the top fantasy point scorer, and then Jeff Wilson, if he does play, I think is going to be that underdog, getting those points.
Okay, yeah, I'd like to try to go somewhere else just to be different, but I think I just can't see a world. I'll be over the field on Jalen Hurts at MVP as well. That just it's just it's just the perfect storm for him to rise to the occasion, have a really good game, and then the bang for your buck. It's when I say bang for your buck, usually I'm trying to find the low owned guys, someone, under 8K. This slate in particular doesn't really seem to have that. So, ah, you know, to be honest, I don't have one as of yet, but Devonte Smith, I know he's 31% owned, but he is coming off 2 bad games. So all the game log trolls that are going to look at the game log, they're going to see he has 2 bad games and they might pass over him. So, that's definitely someone I'll be over the field on just off of that. Um, and the kicker from Philadelphia as well at 9,500. I know he's 32% owned, but the way the way I see the game playing out, I see him getting quite a bit of action, and I see the Eagles winning this one. Ooh, I think they're going to win by a touchdown. I got them. I got Eagles by
Nice.
7.
All right, and on that
So,
note, please go ahead and, like I said, drop those likes and subscribes, and also let us know that you subscribed, and also put in your predictions and who do you think is going to be that leading fantasy scorer, and who do you think is going to be your bang for your buck, and we'll follow up with you guys later on in the comment section. Have a good one.